fit, formidable, and fantastic. Go wide or go home.
Hey everyone, it's Cory McCarthy, and welcome to a new episode. So I haven't done a video about training in a while, and I thought I'd hit you all up with one inspired by a comment that I had received on Facebook this past Friday. A viewer of mine remarked on my deltoid width. Now this is something that wasn't always a strong point for me. My delts were frustrating slow responders width-wise. Thickness was never a problem, but width was. As you can plainly see from this picture of me from when I first started lifting, circa October 2009. I just didn't have inherent wideness of the shoulder region, and even still it is a struggle, but by modifying certain exercises as well as utilizing another often overlooked exercise, it really made all the difference for me. As is plainly obvious in my current photos from head on. Maybe it will help you too. Because as Arnold has been quoted, a man who has developed wide, broad shoulders feels superior and has a greater sense of security and confidence about him. First, let me introduce you to my personal favorite bodybuilder of all time. The first ever Mr. Olympia, Larry Scott, who passed away in March 2014. Larry admittedly had very narrow shoulders. He was not gifted with great width, but hey, we all got our weak points. Larry had to earn his title-winning width through exercise modifications, poundingly hard work, and searing intensity, like supersets, running the rack, and partials. But to cut to the chase, his unique takes on the overhead press and the lateral raise were what caught my attention. These were game changers for my own training, so allow me to share them with you so that you might benefit. Let's start by looking at the little-known Scott press. As you can see, it is like a combination of a lateral raise, or at least elements thereof, with an overhead press, or a shortened range of motion Arnold press, moving both upward and then backward. When I perform this exercise, seated or standing, I feel an incredible burn in all three deltoid heads, even the posterior at the end of the movement, as opposed to primarily the anterior with a little medial, like you would with the traditional overhead press. I actually feel this far more than any standard overhead press variation, even the Arnold press, and it burns like all fuck. There is an element of constant tension, if you will, due to the shortened range of motion. So lighten up the load you would normally use on overhead presses with dumbbells and give these a try. Next, let's look at Larry's modification of the lateral raise. In this modification, you must lean forward a little, preferably in front of a mirror, just so you can gauge, until you can just see your rear delts coming into view. But not too far, as this is not a full-on bent-over lateral raise. From there, instead of starting at your sides, begin the movement with the dumbbells in front of you, and with a degree of bend in your elbows, as Larry demonstrated in the clip that I showed. Raise them upward and backward a little bit, like flapping a set of wings, with a squeeze around the medial and posterior regions at the top. Now, I personally feel this modification far more in my medial head than your standard upright strict form lateral raises. In fact, the form is a little loose in this variation. Not so sloppy as to promote injury, but a bit more body English is allowed. Finally, a compound movement that will pack on real powerful and wide look to your entire shoulder region. The wide grip upright row. Now, I did not get this one from Larry. This one I just found worked well on my own body through experimentation. I felt it in all of the right stubborn to respond places. This movement not only hits the medial deltoids, providing more width, due to the wider grip, but it also smashes the upper traps, which, when well developed, will give your entire shoulder region that look of power. Now, perform your standard upright row movement, but with a grip just slightly outside of shoulder width. I find that an easy bar is most comfortable for the wrists with this movement, but dumbbells, they work fine too. Also, lean a tad forward, just like I do with the Larry Scott variation of lateral raises, just until you can see the posterior delts come into view in the mirror. And one more note, the higher in the range of motion that you go, so like the higher you bring the weight, the more you're going to activate the upper traps. It might behoove you to use a greater ROM and really get a real peak contraction at the top. And here's how you could put it all together into a solid, all-encompassing deltoid routine. Squeeze this into your push days or whenever you wish to train your delts. Just ensure you focus on feeling the movement in the target muscle, even if that means you need to lower the weight you use. Don't just sling weights around carelessly and without thought or form, though it is okay to loosen up a little on the laterals. And really, that's it. I feel this can help anyone take their deltoid training to a whole new level, even if you already possess some above average deltoid genetics, or at the very least give you something fresh to try and help you really top off the Covade V taper look. It has certainly taken my physique to a whole new level of width, at least in my opinion. So do check out the references in the description below for further viewing and reading about Scott's methods. He also has really great tips for the biceps and triceps as well. He was really one of the first people who began training specifically for certain insertions, as far as I'm aware, like, you know, lower biceps insertions, higher biceps insertions. So he was a very strategic trainer and one of the first to really do that. So definitely check out some of his articles. They're really, really good. Otherwise, you guys can drop some comments below in the comment feed. Otherwise, I will see you guys for the next scheduled episode. Till then.